Okay, so last night Clay and I watched Flushed Away, which is movie. I, as you probably noticed, I kind of just stopped putting numbers after these titles. There really wasn't a reason for it. I just kind of stopped, so I've completely lost track. I'm gonna say number 14. Yeah, it's somewhere around there in the list. And I would say at this point, this is my least favorite movie. Now, that comes with a very bizarre but still present caveat. Shark Tale would be the worst if I didn't have that weird spiritual awakening the next day after watching it and going, wait a second. Yes, the movie is awful and it's just abysmal in almost every facet, but it weirdly predicted modern culture that I in no way think was actually intentional. I think this was all on accident and also all in my own head. But it's still there, so I have to give it some credit. And while Spirit is a movie I don't really like that much, I can still see a lot of there were still things that kept me invested. And I genuinely think if you take out the Matt Damon narration, which is just telling me, this is what you're watching, person with eyes and a cognitive brain who can very clearly tell what's happening in the movie. You take that out, I like the movie a lot more. Flushed Away just didn't do it for me. And here's the thing, it's alright, so was the movie horribly unfunny? No. There are actually quite a few jokes in there that I was like, I like that. I like maybe a visual gag or an actual written joke. Sir Ian McKellen playing this Rocko's Modern Life looking big head. And the second I saw it, I was like, wait, I haven't seen Rocko in a long time, but I know a big head when I see one. Are the big heads frogs? The big heads toads? Because I don't remember, individual things from, I remember character designs, and that's it. There were probably giant frogs, and, there was probably shit they did with their tongues, and I just don't remember because I watched the show when I was, 5 years old. I was like, this guy looks familiar. I guess that's why they just Huzzah! A man of quality. I'm like, that's where I know him from. I have that meme on my phone. It's a good meme. He's great. He is so consistently entertaining. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that this is Sir Ian McKellen, and there's times when he's talking where he's doing a voice, and then he'll just kind of go on this Shakespearean rant. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now he's just playing himself. This is kind of great. And then there is a French frog named Le Frog. He's not in the movie very much, but he was entertaining. I liked that guy. There was a joke with him that made me laugh, which was I don't remember exactly what causes it, but Ian McKellen Toad says something like, yo, do you enjoy my suffering? Do you find it amusing? Something like that, to which his response is, of course, I find everyone's suffering amusing. I am French. I like that. This is an Aardman DreamWorks collaboration, and not their first, and not their second. And it has that Aardman charm to it. I just did not care about our protagonist. It was named Roddy Millicent. They refer to him as both at different times in the movie. I think, is it Roddy or Rodney? I think it's Roddy. I don't even remember the name of, no, Rita, that was it. It was Roddy and Rita. I just didn't care. I don't find these two particularly funny. I don't find them particularly interesting. I don't find them particularly charming. They're not awful, and I feel like that's important. I wasn't watching this movie going, oh my god, this is so bad. This is so unbearably awful. Who thought of this crap? I was just watching it going, man, I could be watching that Chargers-Jacksonville game right now. Oh, look, Trevor Lawrence threw another interception. Because we were watching this movie, during the first half, and following that game, and Trevor's dog shit performance was way more interesting. And then so I didn't actually watch the game, but I remember I was watching it, and then I was like, okay, it's almost halftime, but the Jags have the ball. If they score, they've got a chance, and the score at halftime is 27-7. I looked at Clay and I told him, Jacksonville is winning this game, and the reason they are winning this game is because they are playing the Chargers. I don't care that the Chargers are up 27-0. I don't care that they're up 20 at halftime. It's the Chargers. They are going to lose. And I told another one of my friends, I was texting him, like, we were kind of riffing on Jacksonville, and I told him, I was like, yeah, but they're playing the Chargers, so they're still going to win. And he's like, dude, no way. Like, there is so much shit that has to go their way for them to win. I'm like, I know. But when you're playing the Chargers in a big game, it can happen. Jacksonville is winning this game. And what do you know? They won the game. It's like, this is not like a LeBron thing. I actually, like, tweeted out, this is going to happen. I have the text from my friends. I have receipts if I need to show them. But anyways, that was way more entertaining to me than the movie. And there is that part of me that's like, well, was I not enjoying the movie because I was thinking the whole time I would rather be watching football? There's the potential of that, but also, if the movie was genuinely entertaining me, though, I wouldn't have really cared. Like, I think a few years ago, I believe I watched a double feature. It was The Night is Short, Walk On Girl and Mind Game, which are both, yeah, I think they're both Yuasa movies. And it was Game 6 of the NBA Finals was that night, and it was the Toronto Golden State series, and that was when Toronto finished it. And I really wanted to go watch the game, but I'd already made plans with my friends. We were watching the movies. And yes, there was that sense of, man, I really just kind of want to go home. I want to watch the game. I want to watch it live. But also, I'm like, wow, Night is Short is a really good movie. I love this. Mind Game, not so much. Like, I think it's just a visual treat for my eyes. When it comes to the actual, like, plot and story and stuff, I think it's fine, but just watching it is really fun and really entertaining. There's a joke at the end with, about needing to drink milk to build strong bones that had me howling. So it's not just the fact that I'm like, yeah, there was other stuff I could have done. Did it affect my enjoyment of the movie? Sure. But if the movie was just really interesting, or I thought it was really funny, or I really liked these characters, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like, yeah, like they have to be so high to make me invested, because I don't feel like it's that hard to get me invested. Like, the second half of Madagascar, which is something I keep referencing in these movies, like, I might like Madagascar more than I thought I did. Not in the sense of Shark Tale, where I'm like, this movie's actually brilliant. I'm like, no, I really liked what they were doing with Alex's character in the second half of the movie. It was genuinely interesting. I still think the movie looks kind of gross, like there's something so plasticky about the visuals, but this is interesting. And then you got Flushed Away, which to me never got to that point where I'm like, wow, they're doing a really interesting thing with these characters now. It's just like, no, it's, he's a fish out of water. He wants to go back home. And as he goes on his journey, he ends up finding his way back home and realizes, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go back to the sewers with this, cute rat waifu. Which is the second time in the past month I've used the term rat waifu. The other, of course, is referring to Freya from Final Fantasy IX, because I love saying the river dancing rat waifu, because there is a part where she river dances. I know I had a lot of problems with Final Fantasy IX. There's a lot of just charming shit in that game. And the river dancing rats is 100% in the tier of good shit that is in this game. I love it. I just hated playing it. But regardless, I'm going on a lot of tangents, which I think are a lot more interesting than Flushed Away. I don't like the look of this movie. And it's something, like I was just kind of saying with Madagascar, it's something I'm realizing more and more as I watch DreamWorks movies. It's not that I dislike the animation, because I think the actual, movement is really good. I mean, there's probably times where I'm like, all right, that was a bit spotty, but generally I'm like, this looks good. But the actual, design of the characters, there's something really plasticky about it. Like, I remember, Shark Tale, I think you'll give me that one. It's hideous. Madagascar, there were times where I almost noticed the, plasticky sheen on the characters. Noticed it as well at times in Over the Hedge, and I think I noticed it here. The fact that I am seeing Aardman character designs, but it's clearly not claymation, I'm like, this is weird and I don't like it. What the fuck is this? This bothers me. Especially because I've said, like, I love claymation. And so, like, it's something I really look forward to when I'm, like, seeing their, like, projects. I'm like, this does not work for me. And again, it's not like I'm like, this looks hideous. It's not Shark Tale by any means. I'm just like, it's a bit uncanny valley because of how I expect them to look when they move and how they actually look when they move. If the story was interesting, I'd like this movie a lot more. If the characters were interesting, I'd like it a lot more. But I just felt consistently underwhelmed throughout the majority of the movie. And by the time it was done, I was like, okay, this was probably the second worst experience in this DreamWorks marathon. The first being Shark Tale. But Shark Tale got a weird kind of redemption arc. This movie has not. Now that could change. Maybe in a few hours I'll be like, wait guys, I'm sorry, Flushed Away is incredible. But I don't see it happening. Now I believe I have brought this up before, and I could be wrong. But Clay and I have a tradition when we do these movie marathons. We've done it with Pixar, we've done it with Pokemon, we've done it with Disney, and now we're doing it with DreamWorks. Is whenever there's 2 movies in a row, which we actually did not do this with Pokemon. It's like, this was something we actually established with Pixar, though. Is when there's 2 movies in a row that we expect to be either both terrible or kind of memes, or it's like one might be just like a meme movie, one might be terrible. We do a double feature. Like, we were watching both of these in the same day. With Pixar, we did it. I know we did it with Brave. I don't remember the order. It was either Cars 2 and Brave or Brave and the Good Dinosaur. I want to say, though, that Inside Out is in between Brave and the Good Dinosaur. Might have been like Brave and Monsters U, which I think is fine. I actually kind of like Monsters U. But I know Brave was like the centerpiece of the double feature. With Disney, it was Home on the Range and Chicken Little. Home on the Range is my bottom of the fucking barrel with Disney. And Chicken Little, the first third word is just this aggressively mean-spirited movie I think is hysterical. And then when the movie gets nicer, it gets a lot less funny. With DreamWorks, going through the list, there's actually a lot of potential for double features. I think we're going to do one for Spirit 2 and Boss Baby 2. And there is a few where we're like, well, do either of us expect Turbo to be good? Not really. And I don't remember, it was either something right before or right after. Like, we don't really know what to expect with this one either. Like, we'll put a pin in there, I think with some of them, we're going to be like, all right, this movie's coming up. We don't know if we're going to like it or hate it. So let's watch it a little earlier in the day, just in case we decide to double feature. But the big planned double feature that I am hoping we will do today is Shrek the Third and Bee Movie. I remember not liking Shrek 3. I know that it is the one that nobody likes. I mean, let me rephrase that. It is the least liked. It is the one that is actively disliked, but I am sure there are people who genuinely like the movie. I couldn't tell you why, but that's also because I don't remember this movie. I just remember watching it and going, I didn't like that. But I'm kind of curious to see why. Is it one of those movies that's just like, okay, it's fine, it's just not as funny as Shrek or Shrek 2? Or is it like, oh no, it's actively bad? Bee Movie is just a giant, massive meme. And I don't think I've ever seen the whole movie. It's weird. It's very bizarre. And I'm kind of looking forward to watching it. What I genuinely think is going to happen. Because whenever we do double features, I try to predict, like, all right, this is what we're going to think of the movies. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm very wrong. I remember thinking, it's like, all right, we're going to watch Home on the Range, and it's not going to be that bad. It's going to be mediocre, but it's not going to be that bad, and I fucking hated it. My prediction is Shrek the Third is going to be fine. It is not going to be as good as the first two. There's probably going to be some things I'm like, okay, actively dislike this. But overall, I'm like, this was okay, a little overhated. I think Bee Movie is gonna be, like, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna be so wildly entertained at how ludicrous this movie is. I'm like, Clay, this movie is great. I love it. Yes, I want to give it a B as just a stupid pun, but this is actually a high tier, I don't want to say a masterpiece, but maybe it will be. I'm like, I am so entertained by this movie, and not in an ironic way. It's actually good. I kind of love it. That is my prediction. We'll see how it is. I really feel like I spent most of this video talking about other things aside from Flushed Away, but that's not just because brain going on tangents. It's because I think other things are way more interesting, but there we go.